Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Paul J. in Baltimore, and welcome to another edition of the Henry Report with James Henry, who now joins us from New York City. James is an investigative journalist, an economist, an attorney. He used to be chief economist at the international firm McKinsey & Company. Thanks for joining us, James.
Quite well.
So Pew came out with a new research study you've had a look at. What do you make of it?
Well, it's consistent with what we know about wealth in the United States. The top 7% of households, about 8 million people, have seen their net worth increase to a mean of about 3.2 million in the last 3 years during the from 2009 to 2011, while the rest of us, the bottom 111 million households saw their net worth decline by about 4% to less than $150,000. And there's many people who have no net worth at all, and indeed are in debt in this period. This study is interesting, but it's a little bit incomplete because it doesn't pick up the last 2 years. It stops in 2011, and if anything, things have gotten worse because what's really driving this differential is the fact that most ordinary Americans don't own stocks. Their main source of wealth, if they have wealth at all, is housing, and the housing market has been dismal. Even today, it's barely recovering. But on the other hand, the stock market has seen a tremendous resurgence in the United States, especially, driven partly by the fact that the rest of the world isn't growing, that people are parking their money here. But you've seen basically stock prices recover nicely since the depths of the 2009, early 2009. And so wealthy people have continued to benefit from this. And so we would expect, if we looked and updated these estimates now, we'd see the trend not, just continue. It wouldn't just be a 28% increase for the top group. It would be something more like 35 to 40.
And you can just imagine when you're talking to someone who's in that top tier group, who's seen their income increase dramatically over the last 3 years, and you say to them, well, austerity is terrible because it's going to prolong the recession. I imagine them saying, and your point is? I mean, they have cheap money, they have cheap labor, and the stock market's doing just wonderful. So why exactly, if I'm in that position, do I want the recession to end?
Well, one reason would be that you look forward to the political consequences of this and kind of fear that eventually someone in Washington or, the political party system in this country will notice the fact that most people are not better off, they're worse off, and that existing policies aren't working. I mean, instead we've seen in fact, maybe this is another cause of comfort for the top floor group. We've seen relatively little concern on the part of policymakers about the radical increase in poverty and inequality in this country. And they're bound and determined to make middle class and poor people pay for the costs of this recession that they had nothing to do with, no responsibility for, by cutting things like Social Security and spending on lots of social programs. So, I don't know why the rich have anything to fear. They certainly haven't gotten much hard medicine from the Obama administration, even though the millionaire tax increase, has been implemented. That's about the only thing you can really point to in terms of increased pain for the top. And at the same time, you've seen payroll taxes increase by even more. So that's pretty much offset any distributional effects there. So, maybe we have to appeal to the rich on moral grounds. I don't know whether there's
good luck.
Yeah, well, we're sort of out of in Europe, where they've seen even deeper cuts in government spending and wider disparities. You've seen the beginning of mass movements. Occupy movement in the United States has kind of left the field. I have no really good explanation for that, other than the fact that our political leaders, there are darn few of them who've been willing to take up the cause here.
Right. I mean, if you think about political consequences, I don't think they're going to come from within the stratum of people that are doing so well, and so many politicians are beholden to them. And then the way the party system is here, you think if you're going to punish the Democrats for not being tough on this, and then you're going to support the Republicans. I guess it's time people have to start thinking about something more independent of all of this.
You'd like to believe that during this period of time, which is now approaching this, the length of the Great Depression in the 30s, and shows, sort of very mediocre performance, even in the United States, that there would be some political consequences for basically accepting this kind of budget, this kind of, I would call it bloodletting approach to economic policy. Over time, and we have more and more long-term unemployed, many more people who are living on the margins of existence. 23% of U.S. kids are in poverty, and many seniors are experiencing the same thing. The problem is that these groups that are worst hit here and are seeing their wealth and incomes decline, are just the least well represented in Washington at this point in time. So
I should add, in the media as well.
And the media as well. I hate to see it.
All right, thanks for joining us, James.
Welcome.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.